So we are covering a lot of immigration-related stories. This is one of the crazier ones, perhaps even too crazy for Mississippi. That's right. So Libs of TikTok tweets out a few days ago, breaking proposed bill in Mississippi would pay $1,000 to bounty hunters for each successful deportation of an illegal that they help facilitate. So she, of course, touted this as great news. We're going to take a brief look at this news report.
Allow certified bounty bill that would allow certified bounty hunters to assist in identifying and reporting undocumented immigrants was introduced in the Mississippi House of Representatives. The bill, proposed by the DeSoto County District Attorney and authored by State Rep. Justin Keene, would create the Mississippi Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter Program. This program would offer a $1,000 reward to registered bounty hunters for each successful deportation they help facilitate.
Okay, now this might sound like an insane and fascistic throwback idea, but it actually is progress of a kind for Mississippi, because up until now, bounty hunters in Mississippi were known as slave catchers. That's what they used to call bounty hunters back in the day. And people have made the connection to nowadays. So, once again, progress of a kind considering the location. Mississippi bill would create bounty hunter program to hunt undocumented migrants. This is from the Mississippi Clarion Ledger. A new bill in Mississippi, if passed, would create a bounty hunting program to hunt down undocumented migrants. DeSoto County District Attorney Matthew Barton announced the proposed legislation in a news release. House Bill 1484 would create the Mississippi Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter Program if the state passes it into law. State Representative Justin Keene from DeSoto County authored the bill. Both men say this fits with immigration policy changes endorsed by President Donald Trump. This legislation is about keeping Mississippi communities safe, Keene said in the news release. We've seen firsthand the danger posed by bad actors and violent criminals who enter this country illegally, like the innocent life of Lake and Riley. President Trump's administration has made it clear that deporting illegal immigrants is a priority, and we are proud to do our part here in Mississippi to help support his agenda and protect our citizens. According to the news release, the proposed legislation would offer a $1,000 reward to registered bounty hunters for each successful deportation they help facilitate. The funds would come from the General Assembly for the state treasurer to administer, and it would go into effect July 1st, 2025. So the bill would basically create full-time bounty hunters, where you get $1,000 per head, basically. So, it's not just like a one-time thing of $10,000 for one, and then they send you on your way. No, this is like, things are a little tight this week. I only caught 3, right? Or this month, shall I say. Mississippi cost of living is low, so I guess $1,000 is a fair price.
That's
market rate.
You wear a duster and a hat.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Bolero, the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. The text also defines a crime of trespass by an illegal alien, this is even crazier, as a felony for which the authorized term of imprisonment is life imprisonment without eligibility for probation, parole, conditional release, or release except by act of the governor or the natural death of such person. That can change if the federal government takes custody of the person and deports them within 24 hours. So what that means, it's as crazy as it sounds. If you get caught by one of these bounty hunters who gets paid $1,000 for delivering you to the state, you get kept in prison forever unless and until the feds take over your case and agree to deport you within 24 hours. That is as crazy as it sounds. Yes, you read that right, and you heard that right. The law would also require anyone arrested on the charge to submit a DNA sample. Now, thankfully, it seems like, according to the Mississippi Free Press, cooler heads might prevail on this. Now, I didn't know cooler heads were a thing in Mississippi, but apparently they are. Yeah. Apparently, it looks like, thankfully, this will probably not come to fruition. Mississippi bounty hunter bill to go after undocumented immigrants faces legal and political hurdles, experts say. Mississippi lawmakers could put a price on the heads of undocumented migrants and authorize certified bounty hunters to locate and detain them under a new proposal in the legislature. But immigration attorneys, advocacy groups, and community leaders tell the Mississippi Free Press that the measure is unlikely to gain traction, amounting to a political stunt designed to stoke fear and generate news coverage. House Representative Jansen Owen, Republican from Poplarville, wow, vice chairman of the Judiciary B Committee, one of two House committees that the bill has been referred to, expressed deep skepticism about Keene's bill. I'm concerned about the constitutionality of some of those provisions, he told Mississippi Free Press on January 24th. The Republican lawmaker explained that he had not personally reviewed the bill, but he stressed that determining the legality of immigrants was above the jurisdiction of the state to begin with. That's within the purview of the federal government, he said, adding he supports local law enforcement referring detainees to federal immigration services. But, quote, the state doesn't need to get in the business of enforcing federal immigration law, he concluded. Owen said he would be reviewing the bill himself over the weekend, but he'd heard enough to voice his personal opposition to the idea. I think it's very unlikely that it'll come out of committee, he said. Most of the concerns about HB 1484 center on its imagined bounty hunter program, which would allow licensed bail bond agents and surety recovery agents to locate and arrest undocumented migrants around Mississippi. To be considered for the program, the legislation calls for applicants to submit an array of personal information to DPS and prove that their bond licenses are valid. Speaking with the Mississippi Free Press before the bill's release, District Attorney Barton stressed that this vetting process, along with the program's restricted eligibility, would be key to preventing wrongful arrests and lowering the risk of racial profiling. We're not trying to send vigilante mobs to people's houses, he said on January 13th. Well, that's weird because it kind of sounds like that's exactly what you're trying to do.
Sounds like it,
yeah. It's going to be a lot more structured and secure and defined than that.
It's going to be more like a Boba Fett kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh, my God. Legal experts counter that enlisting civilians to help track undocumented migrants would make an already flawed, dangerous process more unsafe. Of course, it would lead to racial profiling, said Patricia Ice, the MIRA attorney. If somebody approached me and thought that I was undocumented, how would they prove on the spot that I'm not a U.S. citizen? Ice, Davis, and other experts worry that Keene's bill does not clearly define the scope of bounty hunters' powers under the program. While the legislation states that certified bounty hunters could apprehend undocumented migrants, it does not specify whether DPS would assign their targets or whether bounty hunters could go after anyone they suspected of living in Mississippi illegally. This ambiguous language, Davis argues, makes the program ripe for abuse. Well, of course they're just going to go after people. I mean, you wouldn't hire a citizen bounty hunter to go and apprehend someone who you already have a tip on. Like if you already suspect someone is illegal and you want to deport them, wouldn't you just send one of your people there or call the feds in? You wouldn't just take a bail bondsman off the street. Oh yeah, this guy here lives here. Go get him. Go get him. Doesn't sound like that's really what the program is. Sounds like you enlist basically freelancers to go out and find who they can. So just to go back to this tweet, Libs of TikTok tweeted this out, and Wall Street apes, yup, they started the process to pass this beginning of December. We need it nationwide. I could be a trillionaire with the amount of people I could report in California. Everybody is illegal. Ha, 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 Libs of TikTok says. But she even got some pushback from her followers. Wow, I don't know how I feel about that. Millions need to go, but dreamers and hardworking people not on welfare and with no criminal record seem to be keepers to me. So these are not like, liberals who are picking a fight. These are people who generally like her work, but are like, yeah, this seems a little bit too much. This sounds too much like slave catching. Yes, good insight, Josh Zampich. Make the focus be on illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. Prioritize ones that are actually a risk to Americans. Wendy Francisco says bounties makes the population suspicious of each other. Part of the strength of our country needs to be a feeling of safety in public and not tearing relationships over politics like the families of the J6ers did to their own family. Don't make us into bounty hunters. So there's another MAGA person who's like, no, this seems like too much to me. Pulse Point says, I'm all about deportation, but that bounty stuff is going to get a lot of innocent folks arrested and waste Fed time and money. You know, people will be calling on anyone. Come to think about it, Nazis did the same thing to round up Jews. Not going to be a part of it. Wow. So
Look at that.
Few
Look at
based
that.
MAGA people in the replies. So whether this passes in Mississippi or not, and right now smart money seems to be that it won't. Part of why I think it's important to cover stories like this is, number one, this is absolutely insane that this was even written. I mean, it's just an absolutely insane idea. But two, you may have noticed if you followed politics in recent years and even recent decades, there's a certain pattern, which is that when Democrats get in office, they do the least they can get away with. When Republicans get in office, they do the most they can get away with. Right? Democrats get in office and say, all right, so we said we want to raise the minimum wage. How can we wiggle out of this? All right, well, we'll say we need a big bill to overhaul our infrastructure and our economic system, but then we'll let Manchin and Sinema stymie it. And when we try to pass the minimum wage along another bill, we'll blame the parliamentarian for getting it out. What's the least we can do that will not piss our voters off?
Bare minimum.
Right. With the Republicans,
with plausible deniability where we can blame somebody.
Exactly. The Republicans is the opposite. They get in there and say, okay, what's the most we can do without people turning on us, right? Day one, mass deportations start. Day one, you got crackpots in Mississippi. Let's round up bounty hunters. Like, they will just go. That's why they're winners, because they will go pedal to the metal until their own base says, okay, that's enough. Stop. That's too far. Pull back. Seems like, luckily, some people are saying that about this law, which is why it might not pass. But it's important to shine a light on these things, because without that pushback, like if you don't generate that pushback, they'll just go. They just they ram their power down your throat when they're in office. The Democrats do everything they can not to wield it. The Republicans have the opposite problem.
I think this is a theme that's going to come up a lot for the foreseeable future. I look at things like this and I see how much the liberals cost us by getting in the way and really stopping the progressive project. And you can see it in the numbers.
Right.
If you look at the drift of public opinion back in 2016, it was much more liberal. It was much more left. They were much more left on immigration. Yep. They were much more left on wages. They were much more left on race issues. They were much more left on LGBTQ issues. When the liberals crushed the progressive movement with its economic focus, and all that was left was this, as you said in a previous episode.
Right.
Yeah, people saw there's nothing in this for us. They just want to talk all of this guilt bullshit. They want me to feel bad, and I can't pay for my kids to eat properly.
Exactly.
Fuck it. That created an enormous opportunity for the right wing to present its terrifying, in my opinion, in many cases, solutions to these problems. And people said, well, okay. All right. All these guys want to do is have trans dance parties on the White House lawn, and I'm drowning here. I'm drowning. Okay, you want to come? It's not an accident. Look, I mean, we're a couple smart-ass Jew boys from New York. It's not an accident that these places like Mississippi that are regularly ranked at the very bottom, not in education, as the liberals will focus on, because I got news for you. Public education isn't good in this country in general compared to any other country in our economic class. It's not about that. It's poverty. Mississippi is always towards the bottom, sometimes the very bottom in poverty. When people are poor, they are attracted to extreme solutions, particularly if you don't offer them another one. It gives them some sense of power over their lives to get on board with the idea they're going to punish somebody else.
Yes. And aside from that, I mean, you create an incentive like this. Who do you think is going to sign up to be a bounty hunter? You're going to have people who need the money.
You got Dog. His show's been off the air for a few years.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He needs the money.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I mean, look, that is absolutely true. And, that's why that's how we've gotten where we've gotten. It's amazing. We have to play this. I have to find this. I mean, there are a lot of videos that would corroborate what we were just talking about, how attitudes on immigration have so far shifted. But I remember, like, the week after the 2012 election, after Romney got blown out, it was common theory amongst the Republican base and in conservative media that Romney was too hawkish on immigration, and
Right.
that's why he lost,
Right.
because Romney
Self
was
deportation.
exactly Mitt Romney's platform was basically self deportation. Don't
Right.
forcibly remove them the way Homan is doing now, but basically box them out
Right.
economically so that they'll leave. And I remember there was a clip of Sean Hannity, of all people, saying the day after the election about how Republicans have really gone too far on immigration and they need to be softer
Well,
on
he's going to
immigration.
make an appearance in my Gomez segment.
Yes, he is in the
Ironically.
Gomez segment. Yeah. Well, actually, that's good that you thought of that, because, yeah, just look at the difference between then and now. You had Sean Hannity basically saying this issue is poison for the Republican Party in 2012. Now it's the opposite. Now it's poison for the Democratic Party. What happened? What happened? Barack Obama's second term came and went, and none of that hope and change
Right.
actually happened.
That's it. That's
That's
it.
it.
And then they crushed the Sanders movement and left people with no idea of what the left represented other
Right.
than Nancy Pelosi. It's a free market. I think the Congress has a right to participate.
Yeah.
LGBTQ rights are human rights, by the way.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah,
show you my
right.
refrigerator. Have you
Yeah.
seen my ice cream?
A $12 ice cream bar. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So of course it opened a chasm a mile wide for the right wing to drive their agenda through.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's one more thing I want to add, because I realized when I was editing the clip today, I didn't say this the other day. So just to clarify, in case anyone misinterpreted, when people when people came to the realization that diversity and equity and inclusion and tolerance, when they came to the conclusion that that was all bullshit. What I mean by that is not that they turned against diversity as inherently bad, but they realized that the liberal promise that diversity and equity and inclusion was a means to empower everyone.
Right.
They realized
Yeah.
that was bullshit.
Right.
That was
Absolutely.
bullshit, because you can
Absolutely.
diversify the ruling class without doing anything for the
Right.
working class. What was
Right.
Biden's promise? The only promise he made that he kept was, I'm going to put a black woman on the Supreme Court. Okay. That's great for PMC black women who, feel that aspiration themselves. Wonderful. Not against it, but that alone does nothing for the working
Right.
class. Nothing at all. There's no material payoff to that whatsoever.
Right. And when you look at the promises that Trump is making, and it's funny, when I interviewed people at Braga and I asked them what they liked about Trump, they said something you're hearing a lot now. Promises made, promises kept.
Exactly.
The
Yep.
Trump, now whether you agree with their theory of the case that doing this kind of mass deportation is going to improve quality of life for the average American worker, it's an economic argument of some kind.
Of course.
It's
yes.
an economic policy. Whether you think it'll work or not, it is a policy based in addressing people's economic grievances. Whereas the so-called left, the liberal class, offered nothing but shut up, check your privilege.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
Please clap.